Hi everyone, my name is Stacey Wixall and I'm the director at Macedon Public Library. I am going to be coming to you every month to tell you about some great book recommendations. And I have a theme with all of my recommendations. They're all going to be biographies. Do you know what a biography is? Well, a biography is a book that's about a person. It could be somebody that's a famous person, or it could be somebody that's not so famous, but maybe they went through something that is really interesting to read about. And by reading the biography, you can find out more about whatever that certain thing might be. Um, a great way to remember biography, what it means, is to remember bio means life and graphy means to write about something. So it's a book written about someone's life, biography. And if you happen to see auto in front of biography, that means that the book was actually written by the person it's about. So I have some of those in here as well. So the first book I want to talk about is this one. It's called Some Writer, The Story of E.B. White. Now, if you've read Charlotte's Web, you should probably know right away that some writer is a reference to a line in Charlotte's Web. Do you remember when they say that some pig about Wilbur? Well, that's how they got the title for this book. Now, in this case, the book is not about, it is not written by E.B. White. It was written by someone named Melissa Sweet. And this was a great read. I always wondered how E.B. White got his ideas, and all of his books are so wonderful. Besides Charlotte's Web, I've enjoyed Stuart Little, and I've also enjoyed The Trumpet of the Swan. Our copy's out, but we do have an audio. And by reading this book, I got a better sense for how he became a writer and how he developed some of his story ideas. And he's just a really interesting person to read about. And wouldn't you think somebody who could write such amazing stories as E.B. White would probably be able to go anywhere and not have any problems if he had to get up and speak in front of people? Well, one of the things I learned about E.B. White was he had to get up and speak once, and he had a very hard time with that, and he was so embarrassed he would never do it again. I thought, wow, that's pretty interesting. So I highly recommend Some Writer because you will definitely enjoy it and find out lots of interesting facts about E.B. White. Oh, including, I almost forgot, including inside the book, there are actually photographs of his journals. And look at that. He made lots of changes and would scratch out and scribble and change his mind about words. And I thought that was pretty interesting too. So even writers, they don't get it all out on the page just how they want it the first time. They have to keep making corrections too. The next one I want to mention is Gary Paulson, My Life in Dog Years. Now, Gary Paulson is a really interesting writer. He loves to write about stories that take place outside, because when he was a child, he didn't have the greatest home life. And so as he got to be around middle school age, he started going out hiking and exploring in the woods and camping. And from all of that, his interest in being able to survive outdoors just grew and grew. And he even did an Iditarod, which is in Alaska. You have a dog team and you try to get your dog team to travel across Alaska, and it's a big race. He's even done that. So his books, they're fiction, but they are based on real life experiences that he's had. So they're very exciting and they're very accurate. And this book that he actually wrote, so it's autobiographical, he goes into great detail talking about his life in terms of all the dogs that he's owned. And boy, has he owned quite a few dogs. And every dog, you'll find out in this book, has a very distinct personality. And I would say, if you read this book, you'll probably want to read other Gary Paulson books. So you might want to pick out Dog Song. You'll notice this one is a very good choice. It did get Newbery honor. So try Dog Song if you like reading about his life. You'll probably like this. And another good one is Hatchet. I really am a big fan of Hatchet. Very exciting, very exciting. If you like the thrill of being outdoors and trying to survive, you can't beat Gary Paulson. Now, because it's October, we have to talk about the writer that is like the king of scary books, right? Now, if you're an adult, that might be Stephen King, but you're kids, so who do you think that might be? If you guessed R.L. Stine, you're right. I read this book. It came from Ohio, My Life as a Writer, all about R.L. Stine and how he decided to become a writer and how he developed over time into the writer that writes things like The Haunted Mask and Welcome to Camp Nightmare, which if you read this book, you'll find out how in both of these books that I'm holding up came from things that happened in his life that he just really used his imagination and stretched into really fun, scary stories. One of the most interesting things I found out about R.L. Stine, which really surprised me, when he started out, like when he was a kid, he used to write his own magazines. And there are some pictures in here of here's one. Like this is one piece of a magazine he wrote. And he'd give them to all his friends, and even in middle school and high school, he'd be making these magazines, and they were quite popular with his friends. But guess what? They weren't about scary things at all. They were funny. He was a really funny guy. Like he was the class clown, believe it or not. So it was interesting to read how this person who started out as almost like a comedian / cartoonist developed into a scary book writer. So if you want to know about R.L. Stine, because I'm going to guess a lot of you have read at least a couple of his books, if not way more, because he's written over 130 books. If you want to know more about him, this is your ticket right here. And it's perfect for October because what do we have at the end of the month? Halloween. So get into the spirit and read about R.L. Stine. That's all I have for you this time around. I'll be back next month with more great book recommendations. So come to the library. We're right near your school and check out lots of great books. Bye.